and we are a premier wellness brand cultivating community and culture through conversation. Today we are here with Stacy, the owner of Stacy Beaucicaut-Etienne and EastWing Studios. I'm gonna let her introduce herself to you guys.
Hi everyone, my name is Stacy Beaucicaut-Etienne, owner, as you mentioned, of Stacy Beaucicaut-Etienne and EastWing Studios.
So tell us a little bit about these two beautiful businesses that you own.
As a little girl, I always thought I would get into photography only because my aunt was a photographer of the family. And basically she was always the person walking around with the camera, taking pictures all the time. And I was kind of like fascinated by that. And growing up, seeing that and being able to go back as a little girl and going through all of the albums and watching us as we grew up throughout the years and going through being able to just go through those images and watch us grow through those albums. I'm like, I want to be able to do that. So as an adult, I became that person through my friends and family. When I became a mother and a wife, I became that person walking around with a camera all the time. And one day I just said, you know what? I'm going to invest in a professional camera without telling my husband.
How'd that work?
Didn't work out too well. He's like, what? You spent $1,000 on a camera? You're like, hello, that's our money, remember? Not your money. But anyway.
But he came along.
He came along. So I went and I bought a body without a lens. I didn't know how, I couldn't afford it. I was just like, I'm just going to get the body for now. And eventually my cousin called me up one day. She was like, I need you to take pictures of my restaurant. It was Voodoo Lounge at the time on North Strand and Halsey. And I was like, well, I don't have a lens. I just have a body. And she was like, okay, so come to the restaurant and here's my credit card. And you're going to buy a flash and you're going to buy a lens. I was like, really? Wow. So she was a big supporter of me. So I went and I picked up a lens and a flash. And I took pictures of her restaurant. And I was like, okay, so what do I do now with this equipment? And one of my best friends, she was a dancer. She did salsa, merengue, bachata. So I was like, all right, so I'm going to start going to these socials because that's what they did on the weekends. And I started going to these socials and I would just take pictures for them. And I would just post them on social media and I would send it to the owner of this place. And they loved the photos. And I would just do this every weekend. I would just send them the photos. And after a while, they started asking for me to take pictures for them. I was like, oh, I think I could make a little business. Maybe I should just start charging them. And I just started charging, and then I was like, oh, maybe I should come up with a name. And I spoke to one of my girlfriends. And she's like, I think you should call yourself Stacy B. And I was like, oh, I kind of like that, Stacy B. You get it, Stacy B, Stacy Beaucicaut-Etienne. I don't know, a lot of people didn't really get that. Mm-hmm. And then that's how I just came about. And that's what I've been over the last 6-7 years. EastWing Studios, that just kind of like happened, never planned it. I used to just kind of rent out space from other people, and it just kind of got draining, just renting from other people all the time and not being able to find space. And one day it just picked up and said, I just need my own space. And I started just looking, spoke to a friend. He had a space in this building. And I just reached out to the owner of the space in this building, and they started showing me space, and I found this, and I just took the space, and here I am today, 2 years later.
Awesome story. I like how it all came from like a childhood love, and that you were able to manifest that into an adult passion in a way that you can kind of give back to the community while just using your gifts. Beautiful story.
Thank you.
So this month, we're talking about defining beauty. So how would you define beauty?
It's pretty deep. I think people kind of get lost in what beauty really is, right? And I think I myself got lost in it because I chopped my hair off because I got lost behind all this hair, right? I had long hair. We were just talking about that, right?
Yeah.
I think society has kind of screwed us up in what we think beauty is supposed to be, and we tend to look in the mirror and we get caught up in like the makeup and the hair, and I think beauty just comes from within. It just shines, right? And so what I decided to do with Stacy B Photography is kind of helping people to find that inner beauty, because beauty does not necessarily come from the outside, right? I feel like it comes from the inside and just shines on the outside. So what is beauty? Beauty to me comes from within. It's who you are, and that kind of shines.
Yeah, and really, if you can explain your work a little bit, because I think that sometimes when we think about taking photos, we're thinking about just highlighting that external part of our beauty. But from what I know about you, is I know that your pictures actually try to touch the soul of humans, right? And to put that forth. So can you talk a little bit about some of the experiences you had with helping your clients do that and helping them see themselves the same way you have learned how to see yourself?
I get emotional with a lot of my clients. I've had crying moments of self, like people finding themselves, people who's called me and said they found out when they lost their smile, or they found out when they lost themselves, or how their childhood affected how they looked at themselves. Just being able to tap into them, like talking to them. I had someone tell me, like, even they cover their mouth, they had a gap, and they literally, when they laughed, they would cover their mouths, and I'm like, why are you covering your mouth? They're like, oh, my gap, I don't like my gap. I'm like, but that's you, that's your gap, own it, and it's beautiful. Yeah. And it was interesting, at the end of the shoot, she was smiling like the entire time, and when she selected all her pictures, all of her photos were the photos of her smiling and showing her gap, and those were her favorite pictures. And this is someone who always covered her mouth. This is someone who hated her gap, and it's like, now it's just like she loves it, but it's like you got to ask yourself, like, did someone tell you that your gap wasn't beautiful? Like, what happened? So I am trying to tap into that. I'm not trying to make it a therapy session, right? But I had a client just last weekend, like, she literally, like, she couldn't wait to get out of here. Like, it was like the best, like, watching her running out. She had her shoes. She was like, I'm trying to get home to my boyfriend. Like, I feel so good. And I'm like, just watching her just running out of here. She was like, Stacy, thank you so much. Just seeing that made me feel like I did my job,
Awesome. And I think another thing that people might not know is how hard it is for you to be on camera, right? And so even when we were planning to do this, you were trying to figure out how you could stay behind the scenes, right? And so how would you say that you've been working to kind of overcome that and really just be okay with who you are in all aspects of self and beauty?
I surround myself with positive people, because sometimes we get in our own heads, right? And we tell ourselves these stories, right? And I think that I've been really good with talking to people like you, people like Therese, my spiritual sister.
FYI, Therese is my biological sister and the owner of Yes Girls Create, another nonprofit that she introduced me to Miss Stacy here. So.
Yes. But that's what I've been doing, just surrounding myself with positive people. Because again, we do get in our own heads and we make up our own stories, and then just keeping myself well grounded and surrounded by positive people, because we get in our heads. So that's what I've been doing. And sometimes I gotta look at myself in the mirror and say, you good, you all right, you're gonna be okay, and sometimes you have to do that. So that's what I've been doing. Before today, like literally before I came here, I had to look in the mirror and say, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay. And even before we got on camera, you guys had to say, it's gonna be all right. So I had to constantly tell myself, it's all good. it's just that positive reinforcement.
And so thinking about beauty in our upcoming conversations that we're going to be having next week, what do you think is an important thing that adults, men and women, need to really to understand about beauty? What would be your takeaway or your giveaway that you would want to give to people who are coming into the space, engaging in these type of conversations?
Beauty is not physical.
Thank you. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for opening your space. Thank you for inviting Let's Converse in. And we're excited. We're excited to be here next week and to have these conversations. And thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.